Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy, Nate Weitzer, on the East Coast. And we are kicking off the work week here on a Monday with an eight-game slate in the NBA. A few decent matchups in this one. We got, in this video specifically, we're going to be talking about the Kangs and the T-Wolves facing off once more after their first meeting in Minnesota that the T-Wolves won. Also have another game video and our player props up for you, so make sure to like and subscribe to that page so you can continue to follow along with us. Also want you to head to thelines.com. You can check out everything we're talking about here and more on thelines.com and use that great odds finder tool we have. Make sure you're getting the best juice back on all those bets you make in the NBA this season. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into this 8-game slate here and then talk T-Wolves and Kangs.
Yeah, Magic plus 9.5 at the Sixers, who, no props up yet because maybe they rest somebody against that Orlando team. The Lakers are resting AD and LeBron, so they're plus 9 at Brooklyn after that game opened as a pick'em. Thunder -5 at the pesky OKC Thunder. Totals are 242 there, so it is the highest, but the second highest is Washington -6 at the Spurs tonight. Pistons are plus 8.5 at Dallas. Luke is questionable, though. The other game we break down, Raptors plus 1.5 at Suns, 220 total. The Hawks are plus 2 at Portland. Definitely an intriguing one for player props there. And then we get to Kings -1 at Minnesota. Totals at 237.5 and hasn't really moved. The last meeting here, as you mentioned 2 nights ago, was a 117-110 win for Minnesota. And there's a lot of variance here. These teams are hoisting threes. Minnesota's hoisting a lot of unassisted threes. So will those go in or not? I mean, Ant and D'Lo did go 12 for 16 in that game, and the team shot 46%, while the Kings only hit 9 threes. They shot very poorly. But I think at a larger sample size, what I see is the Kings being overvalued as an offense on the road. And they've gone under 8 of their last 10 road games. On the season, it's a 9 points per game split and a better defensive rating on the road. And their 3-point percentage is what really drops off from 40% at home to 33%. You take that as a sample of 10 games, their last 10 at home versus 10 on the road. We're talking 43% versus 33%. So not as excited to light the beam from afar, I guess, but they've gone under in 8 of their last 10 road games now. Exceptions, exceptions proving the rule there, but Minnesota is not a team you would expect to go over with right now, especially Rudy Gobert questionable, but he's already got props up, so he's just perpetually questionable at this point. This is Rudy's Wolves now. I mean, with Cat out the last couple months, and it's been about defense, and they're number 2 in defensive rating, their last 8 here. Number 1 limiting fast break points. Number 3 limiting opponent 3-point percentage. And I mean, I think it's the kind of the safety of that anchor back there that allows guys like Jaden McDaniels, whoever else is on the wing to just scramble and force the Kings off the line. So I'm not seeing it too much as, the poor variance that they shot 9 for 33 in this last meeting. I don't think that they're going to hit a ton of threes in this game, and that is where they score a high bulk of their points, the Sacramento Kings. So, fewer points. Minnesota's offense is more variance, like I'm saying, because it's a lot of step back threes. And if there's not enough pace, I don't think we're getting to 237. The Kings have slowed it down, playing at a 97.5 pace in their last 8 here. And there's an outlier where Jod sat for Memphis, and it was just like a runaway game, and they rolled at home. Otherwise, they've been like 96, 95, which is not at all what you would expect from this team when you get those totals that they get at home. They've also been number 1 limiting free throw attempts for quite some time now, and it's extremely stark in their last 5, helping them go under recently. And the offense has just been kind of average. I mean, there's not really anything that stands out other than when they hit a bunch of threes, and that usually only happens at home. It doesn't seem to happen against Minnesota. Although this is their first meeting this season. The last 4 meetings, they all went over in Sacramento. They went hella under the one in Minnesota, though. 204 it got to. And that was with the, Fox Halliburton edition of the Kings. Still like to run and gun, though. Depended on those fast break points. Obviously, it was the Wolves without Rudy. So, I mean, I lean under more than anything here. I kind of like Sacramento because we talked about Minnesota on the home, losing that second one. But I don't know. They've been playing pretty well lately, especially on the defensive end, which is why I think I lean on that.
Yeah, I hate picking the T-Wolves this year. I feel like I've sort of missed on them. And I'm starting to understand that. I'm starting to understand that, in these moments where it seems like another team's coming in and rolling and maybe this team has been somewhat inconsistent, like Ant is kind of that guy this year to a degree. Like he's stepped up, at least, since Cat went down. And we talked about this the last time we talked about the T-Wolves, like, yeah, Ant's doing Ant things at this point. The thing that's really interesting to me, about this game is sort of the Gobert and Sabonis, the idea of them matching up and the way that these teams, they haven't been scoring in the paint at like a very high rate, or at least maybe what you would expect for both of these teams with the big men that they have down low. But they are, and they are also hemorrhaging points down low. Both of these teams, out of the Timberwolves, we've talked about it ad nauseum, giving up the second most points in the paint, even over their last 8 games, where like this is a better team than it's been. And like you said, it's a bit more of like a clear like Rudy on defense and on offense with D'Lo as sort of his sidekick, because he's been shooting well. We'll see how long that lasts for D'Lo, but that's at least like somewhat of an identity of this team, and the pace is right there to prove it, right? Like they don't need Rudy to get the break, do anything except for get the break going with his defensive rebounding, which he's also been doing over the course of the last 8 games. But it's just crazy that they're giving up 57.5 points in the paint over their last 8, but the Kings doing the same thing, 55.5. So I'm just kind of like, is it just going to be 2 turnstiles? Like there's no way Rudy's not amped up to try to, stop Sabonis a bit more down low. Maybe you like a bit more assists for DeMontis in that sense as well. Just thinking about sort of some of the game theory there, but yeah, they both sort of shut down what the others do well, because like I said, they're not scoring that much in the paint. So the fact that these teams suck at defending it isn't really as big of a concern to me. I think I like under more than anything in this one, because I do think the Wolves are going to hang a bit more with this Kings team. I know they just won, but in these sort of back-to-backs against the same team, the T-Wolves are like really, really bad this season, straight up. So I mean, if you look at the recent sort of occurrences of what they've done when they're playing on against the same team twice, they beat Houston, then they lost to them. They beat the Mavs, then they lost to them. They lost to Portland twice, and then they lost they split with San Antonio. So splitting with San Antonio, once again, I mean, not a good team. I don't care if you have Cat or otherwise, like you should be beating them twice in a row at that point when you're at home twice in a row against them. So another sort of twice in a row at home. That was my things with the Wolves this year, is I haven't trusted them to win 2 games in a row. They've been really good, over their last like 6 games or so, where they've won 5 of 6, and I get that. But if you look at the way that they sort of went on streaks before that, it was like a lot of winning and losing in a row, and then a few win streaks and losing streaks in a row. So I'm not confident enough to pick a winner, essentially, is what I'm saying, because Sac has sort of fallen a bit in a way that I wasn't quite expecting to dwindle so much, especially in the way they came out against the Grizzlies, and won that game handily without Ja. I understand, but I mean, they were just unstoppable from deep. And the last 2 have been super disappointing. I think maybe we're seeing a little bit more of a regression to the mean for them in terms of the way that they play, because like that pace, essentially. I don't know if they're trying to play more Mike Brown style defense, but their defensive rating hasn't caught up enough with their sort of dwindling offense in the last 8 games, because I think in part because of that pace. Like if you're going to be a team that scores 125, at home, you got to be able to try to do that on the road if you're not bringing your defense on the road with you, where it's, hasn't been really present anywhere. So I don't trust them, but I trust this game to go under with the way that Minnesota's been, playing defense better, and the way that Sac has been slowing things down so much.
Yeah, and Minnesota does try to play fast still. I mean, they're 7th in pace, but they're loose with the ball. They're 27th in assist-to-turnover ratio in this 8-game sample that we're looking at, and that's just not going to result in high efficiency. Neither is taking, again, a lot of unassisted threes, where they were able to go down in the last one, but I don't think you can depend on that, and that's part of why you see teams come back and beat them the next time, be like, all right, you're not doing anything to counter what we're doing defensively. You're just taking tough shots and making them, because Ant and D'Lo are talented. But, I mean, you're just generally going under is Minnesota. I mean, 20-14 against the Western Conference, 16-10 after a W, and they're kind of rolling right now, so they're in that spot. And 8-4 to the under as home dogs. They have fewer free throw attempts at home, which is something you almost never see. Defensive rating is almost the same. Scoring a little bit more, but it's nowhere near what it was last season, where they were the highest scoring team by far at home, just going over at an insane clip. And it's just not the same when you insert Rudy, you take out Cat for the last couple months. Much more defensive-minded team.
Yeah, no timetable right now for Cat's return. So I think maybe I'm not mad about it. I think that this is the year that they should be transitioning to making it Ant Edwards' team. If you watch him play, there's just another level that he's kind of reached in terms of his confidence and ability to get by people into the rim. So hopefully a few more dunks coming as he's increased those as well, with the ability to get to the lane a bit more. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us. Check out the other couple videos we have up for you today. And until we see you next, happy betting.